Welcome to Mary McCorvey Experience Over Expectations podcast, which you can find on YouTube, Substack, and any place you find your podcasts. Be sure to subscribe today.
Hello and welcome to Experience Over Expectation. Today we welcome Karen Kaufman, who has been elevating personal presence and relationship management for more than 3 decades. She is president and co-founding principal of K Partners in Philadelphia, and she is the author of the book Magic, Making a Good Impression Count, on and off the golf course. So yes, as you can imagine, Karen is an avid golfer, but she's also an expert in the techniques of creating business during those 18 holes, and presence has everything to do with success in that arena and off the course. We'll get into golf in just a little bit, but first, Karen, you began your 30-plus career in impression and relationship management when you were 13 years old, and your story goes back even farther. Tell us about the beginning.
Well, I didn't know that it was called impression management back then. But when I was about 13 and my parents decided to sell our house because our family was growing, a woman walked in a business suit and a portfolio. And I was so impressed. And I made a decision then that I wanted to be a professional woman too.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So then I thought, well, how do you be a professional woman? And then my parents signed me up for a charm school, and one thing led to another. But I always realized that the way we present ourselves is important, and it can open doors for us, or it can close doors for us.
Sure. Give us an example of how it opened doors for you.
Well, one is I think when we travel, people tend to really dress down now when they travel. But I often travel with a hat.
Mm-hmm.
And I have gotten complimentary upgrades because of that. And I think when you present yourself well, people just treat you differently. They open doors for you. They'll have conversations with you. First impressions matter, and they're so important that it takes 8 to 10 different experiences to alter someone's initial impression of us. And to me, that's startling and not fair. It's clearly not fair, but impression matters. And so I guess in many ways, and then I think it even goes back further than that. I think I shared this with you off camera. When I was a baby, my grandmother used to push me in the carriage. And the story she told me later was she would preempt people before they saw me and would say, I know she's not pretty.
Oh my goodness.
So maybe my desire to prove I was pretty or to know the importance of image, not only on the outside, it's really, as you know, who we are on the inside. And I think that's a life's work in itself, having the self-awareness to refine and update who we are, because our impressions can never be any clearer than our self-image.
Mm-hmm. And how do we even start to think about our self-image? You've been talking about the impressions that you make with others.
Right.
But how do we start to look internally and figure out, okay, this is what I want to present because it's authentically me?
Well, I think we have to go back a little bit and think about the messages that we heard when we were young, and maybe they're obsolete. So I'll reveal something else. I remember my father standing over me as I was doing math, which wasn't my top subject by any means. Can't you just get this? Are you stupid? Or something like that. I don't know those words, his exact words. It sounds like I grew up in a horrible family, but I really didn't. I had loving parents and loving grandmothers. But these are the messages we heard when we were young. And it wasn't really until I got into graduate school that I realized I was smart. It's just that before then, I wasn't into a certain field and something that I could really embrace as a professional. I think if we know our why, it helps us. So I guess back to your question and my point, number one, we have to see what messages are in our head that are obsolete. And we just have to delete those and replace them with more positive and accurate facts and perceptions about who we are today. Then we have to think about what's important to me. I want people, for example, to feel better about themselves by being with me. That's something that's important to me. And to have people feel listened to and respected and acknowledged. So that's something else that's important to me. But if my attention is on myself, I'm not going to be able to be outwardly focused and astute enough, really, to see what others need and how I can contribute.
Well, when did you move from impression management to impression management and relationship management? And how do those two intertwine?
It's been an evolution. When I first I'm going to go back to what had me have the idea to start my own business at age 24. I was a junior executive in retail, and I had become a buyer of men's and women's ready-to-wear for 12 stores. And I had the most wonderful boss, and she taught me everything. And I realized the power of good mentorship. Unfortunately, although I was the assistant buyer of the year, the store wasn't doing too well. And I helped close a store, which was very sad. Then I went across the street and I had another boss in the men's department. And he was disinterested in me completely and left me alone and really no training. But what I learned is what kind of boss I did not want to be. So a year or so later, I was asked to start a Dress for Success department. That was when professional women in the late 70s were coming into the workplace in large numbers. And I thought, rather than doing it for the store, maybe I can do it for me, and I can become a personal fashion consultant for executive men and women. So I went to my boss and I told him I was resigning. And he said, "You're resigning? You have a great career here. You're never going to be successful with that. We dress people here." Well, that's all I had to hear. I was motivated by him saying I was never going to be successful. I resigned. I took out a $7,000 bank loan that my husband had to co-sign back then. And I hired an attorney, an accountant, and a graphic designer. And Karen Kaufman, a personal fashion consultant, was launched. So it was new and novel. And I had a television show on AM Philadelphia called The Wardrobe Makeover. And it evolved. So I went from personal fashion to image. But then when we wanted to move to the corporate market, companies weren't buying image, but they were buying impression management. I did not coin that phrase. Erving Goffman, a sociologist, did in 1955 in his seminal work, Presentation of Self. Well, as it turns out, organizations were interested in having their talent make a positive first impression. What was apparent to us is they would call us and say, we have this really bright person, but they need more fire in their belly, or they need a little polishing. So I would say, tell me more about that. And they couldn't. They said, I can't define it, but I know when it's missing. And that's when we knew that we had to make the whole process of impression more objective and specific and define what are these factors. So through our research, we were at the University of Pennsylvania at the time, we researched the factors, and we have what we now call the factors of leadership, 24 factors that most correlate with making a good impression, and to your question, help pave the way for effective business relationships.
Very nice. Very nice. And well, tell us about magic.
Okay. So I had always wanted to write a book. A number of my friends are authors, but it just looked like such a big project. I started so many books, How to Be Your Own Personal Fashion Consultant, all along the way. Finally, I was listening to a women's panel of authors. And at the end, they said, does anyone have a goal that you want to declare to the group? And I stood up and I said, I will have a book within the next 2 years. So then I took a course on how to write a book. And they had us list out topics we could write about. So what topic I was most excited about was connecting a program I had done in the 90s for high school students in Harlem called Making a Good Impression Count, MAGIC. And then I thought on and off the golf course. And I had that idea because golf was a hobby of mine. And I can go into how I got started playing golf. But I thought this would allow me to use golf as a metaphor for the decades of work that I had done in impression and relationship management. Now, I wanted to write a book that was the kind of book I like to read, which is short, punchy, and provocative, which has me think in new ways. So I structured the book in terms of holes of the golf course. There's 18 holes of golf, and then there's the 19th hole, which is the conversation and the cocktail and maybe the meal after. And then I structured it at the end of each chapter. There are 3 magical nuggets that can help you make your day better, so that people can pick up the book, read a 5-minute chapter, read the magical nuggets, and have them think about that throughout the day. So that's how it came about.
Tell us about, because I've had the privilege of hearing you speak about etiquette on the golf course. And so, although not everyone is a golfer, then there are things, though, that happen on the golf course in terms of doing business on the
Yes.
on the golf course
Yes.
that are, like you say, a metaphor for other aspects of life and relationships, and how to manage the art of the deal on the golf course.
Yes. So I did a survey before I wrote the book. And one of the questions is, who would you like, or what kind of people would you like to be with when you play golf? And the first answer, so the top 3 answers were good company, they had a good pace of play, and they had good temperament. So with those three things, you can tell a lot about someone, because golf is hard and people's emotions come to the surface very quickly. It is hard to be good at golf. It's a small head and a small ball, and there is no perfect in golf, even for the pros. So we can find out a lot about people that we can say, I'd like to do business with them. I wouldn't like to do business with them. I'd like to be your friend. I wouldn't. So, for example, if people drive ahead of you and have no awareness of their partners on the course, that's not good etiquette. And even, you talk about doing business. People want to know you're a good person first and you're trustworthy before they'll even entertain doing business with you. So, for example, if I'm taking a client golfing, I don't talk to them about business during the round. We play golf, and then it's more afterwards, or if they bring it up. So so that they're just a couple things. May I share with you how I got into golf and why I got into golf?
Of course.
So, as an executive coach, about 20 years ago, I repeatedly heard the women complain. The men are out on the golf course and we are stuck in the office, or I am stuck in the office. And I heard it enough times that I thought, being in business and being in business as a woman, you have to at least get into the conversation of golf, even if you don't play. Well, I started looking, listening, reading, and then I thought, I think I'll take lessons. And from the first swing, something about it felt magical. Now, I had the opportunity to play golf 20 or 25 years before. But at that time, tennis was very big. And I said, golf is too slow. Why chase a little white ball around a golf course? And besides, they have horrible clothes and only white shoes. So I was not at all interested in golf at the time. Thank goodness the fashions have evolved. And they've really evolved over the last number of years as more women have gotten to the game. So for those that are just beginning or considering taking up golf, my first round of golf, I shot 172. Par for the course is around 70. So I had the audacity to even keep score, number one. And then after that kind of score, I could say, oh my God, this game isn't for me. But I laughed it off and said, I could only get better from here. So for anyone that's considering it, as long as you look good, keep up your pace of play, and be good company, and have a good temperament, people will want to play with you. And even for women, if you can at least hit the ball, the men will be very impressed.
Tell us about your relationship management and personal branding services.
Wonderful. So one of the things that excites me the most is to help people evolve their personal brand. And I didn't like that word initially because I thought about branding like you brand an animal, but the word caught on. So I started to look at what is the distinction between personal brand and reputation. Well, our personal brand is what we want to communicate to the world, and it needs to be intentional. So it's our intentional creation of our personal brand that's aligned with our mission and purpose. Now, our reputation is what others say about us when we're not in the room. And we build our reputation over time through our actions. So our personal brand can open doors or close doors. So here's an example. I had a client when we were both in our 20s. We were just developing our careers. I worked with her and actually her husband on their wardrobe, on their image, helping to package her for a high level career. We lost touch. We reconnected 20 years later. She had just lost her husband to cancer. I had lost my husband to cancer the year before, who was also my business partner, Don Kaufman. And it was during the pandemic. And we spoke on the phone, and she said, couldn't even think about dating again. I haven't even been out there. So I invited her to be my guest at the Forum of Executive Women at the Union League of Philadelphia. And then I said, why don't we relook at your wardrobe? Because through the pandemic, business had changed and business dress had changed and it wasn't as formal. She said, yeah, Karen, I feel out of date business-wise. I said, what's not in our closet is not in our life. So let's relook at your wardrobe and see what we want to put in your life that we can also put in your wardrobe. So we took one step at a time. We revamped her wardrobe. We did a shopping trip or 2 or 3, got her new eyewear, new hairstyle, makeup. She was not wearing any makeup, so we created a soft look for her. And then she got up the courage to begin to step her toe into dating again. And, every time I look at her, I am so inspired because she is someone that was willing, ready, and able to move on in her life in different ways. So I'm looking for people as my clients going forward that are willing, ready, and able and know that they need an update or an upgrade in some way to match what's important to them for their future.
That's a great story. Do you work with people online?
Yes. What I have them do, I have a whole questionnaire. I can even do people's colors for them online. If it's wardrobe, they will come to the session with something they consider to be casually smart, something they consider to be business, what they would wear for social or evening. It depends on what their goals are. And I never thought I would be working with people in this way online, but then I can help them get a photographer if they need a photographer in their area, because our visual presence, we are everywhere between LinkedIn and sometimes Facebook and sometimes Instagram. So it's more important than ever before that we feel confident in how we present ourselves. So the answer is yes. I do work with people online from around the country and around the world, actually.
Well, how can people get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me in 2 ways. Our website is www.k, the letter K, partners with an S.com, or you can even email me directly at KK for Karen Kaufman at kpartners.com. And if you put in the subject line, Mary McCorvey, or the name of your show, Experience Over Expectations, I will send you a complimentary download of our 1-page Factors of Leadership, our impression profile that I mentioned earlier.
And how, of course, might we get the book?
Oh, that's great. So right now, It's actually on Amazon Kindle for another week at 99 cents. And that's because I'm looking for more Amazon reviews for people that don't know me. I'm learning that the Amazon reviews are very important. So it is on Amazon. It's also at the bottom of my email, and the paperback version is $15.99. And I think you'll really enjoy it.
I'm sure that readers will. Well, today on Experience Over Expectations, we've had the pleasure of talking with Karen Kaufman of K Partners in Philadelphia. We thank you so much for being with us, Karen, and have a great day.
You too, Mary. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to Mary McCorvey's Experience Over Expectations podcast. Be sure to subscribe today on YouTube and Substack, or listen wherever you find your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in.